Hello again, Kingston Town Administrator Keith Hickey with the latest edition of This Week in Kingston for the week ending August 19th, 2022. Busy day, a lot going on. Obviously, with some cooler weather, it's been nice to get outside. We've had a little bit of rain, which is great, um, but certainly not enough to reduce the risk of forest fires and whatnot. So again, please be careful with any fires you may have outside. Hate to see those spread and cause any damage. So we've had some good news over the last week or so. First and foremost, the $400,000 that the Community Preservation Committee provided to the town and town meeting approved to purchase the Winter Street property has been reimbursed by the state. That grant has been those grant funds have been received, and that money has been returned back to the Community Preservation Fund. So nice job getting that grant fund squared away. Kingston also received through an application from our conservation agent an additional $217,000 for that property to restore the cranberry bog on the Winter Street property. So while it won't be an operating cranberry bog when it's done, the project will restore the cranberry bog to operating condition, so people when they walk the site can get a better sense and have a better look at what a cranberry bog would look like. Appreciate all the work from Matt Pennell and all his group downstairs in the Conservation Commission and getting that grant. That work will be done, I assume, sometime this summer. And speaking of that, the parking lot has been started up at the Winter Street property. If you want to walk the property, hasn't been finished yet. We've had some challenges with some staffing, volunteer help, and equipment, things of that nature. But we hope to get that parking lot done sometime in the very near future. Also, we recently approved by the state. I know you may have heard this a couple of months ago. There was some commuter rail MBTA zoning requirements that would have created a potential significant increase in the number of housing units in a close vicinity to the MBTA station in town. There have been some modifications to that legislation, and the state of Massachusetts did pass that legislation. We'll be discussing that at the September 6th Board of Selectmen meeting. What it means right now, I think, to the town is there's a potential for requiring at least 805 multi-family housing units on at least 50 acres of land within a certain distance of that rail station. So there are some options that Kingston can take. We'll be looking at all those options and making the presentation to the Board of Selectmen on the 6th of September. But if you have any interest at all in that information, please check our website out. We've got the legislation and some documentation posted on the website for you to read if you'd like to read up on it at all and get a better sense of what's happening and what the impacts are. There are some concerns that if we don't adopt the legislation, we may lose the ability to apply for state grants. But there are some other options I think we're going to look into that might be in the best interest of Kingston. So we'll see where that goes. And certainly anybody's input would be more than appreciated in how we move forward and forming what Kingston's going to look like in the future, because this could have a significant impact on that. Moving forward for next week, the August 23rd Board of Selectmen meeting. We have a hazardous mitigation plan that has been presented a couple of times. We're bringing it back to the board for final approval. It's more of a housekeeping issue. It's the hazardous mitigation plan has to be approved every 5 years or updated every 5 years and approved. So we're looking to do that on Tuesday night. There's also some promotions in the water and sewer department because of retirements. So we're looking to promote a couple of individuals there. We also have 3 openings in streets, trees, and parks for equipment operators. We're going to be recommending the hiring of 3 different employees to fill those positions. So that's great news. We're also going to be talking about adding a firefighter position that was not budgeted for this year to address a couple of items. We've had, unfortunately, a firefighter have a long-term injury and is going to be out for some time. We also have the potential retirement of a firefighter. So those expenses are the cost of filling those shifts are expensive. We're looking to potentially reduce those costs if we bring in a new firefighter. So Chief Mark Douglas will be at the Board of Selectmen meeting to discuss the options there to bring on that particular new position, see where that goes. We're also looking to modify the rates that we offer our outside plow contractors. Those contractors bring their equipment with them: trucks, sander bodies, plows, and staffing. We haven't increased the rates of those outside rates for a number of years. Streets, Trees, and Parks is finding it more and more difficult to fill the positions needed to provide support for our town employees during the winter months. So we're looking to raise those rates to get them more in line with what the area communities in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts are paying their contract plow drivers, to try to incent them to come to the town of Kingston and provide winter maintenance services for us. The big topic probably, or the most that probably will get the most discussion, frankly, is discussing the results of the request to MassDOT from the town to reconsider the regulatory speed limit on Main Street. There's been some discussion and some concern raised by residents on Main Street about the speed of traffic, the noise of the traffic, and their desire to see a reduction in speed limit. We've spoken to MassDOT, staff members have provided them speed information from not just the town of Kingston, but also Old Colony Planning Commission. The average speed is about 38 miles an hour. There are certainly people who go much faster than that at certain times of the day, but the average speed is about 38 miles an hour. And based on the information provided, MassDOT recommends that speed limit remaining at 35 miles an hour. The town Board of Selectmen have the ability to notify MassDOT that they'd like to remove the regulatory speed limit and replace it with a statutory speed limit, meaning the speed limit will be set by state law or local bylaw. In this case, where Kingston has approved a townwide thickly settled speed limit of 25 miles an hour, that section of Main Street would drop to 25 miles an hour. It would also change the way the police department would be able to enforce traffic. Right now, if they run radar and they find somebody speeding or traveling in a speed above what they think is appropriate, they have the ability to check their speed on a radar gun, and if they find that it's a problem, they can then pull them over. Moving forward, if it becomes a statutory speed limit, they have to follow that vehicle for at least an eighth of a mile, and clock that vehicle at an unreasonable speed for at least an eighth of a mile before they can pull them over and cite them for speeding. So there's a lot of discussion that's going on about this Main Street issue. Ultimately, the board, hopefully on Tuesday night, will decide whether or not they want to notify the state they want to remove that statutory speed limit, and we'll move on from there. Lastly, again, there's been some discussion on a piece of property on Marion Drive that is being used right now. That was being used for excavation, and then reclaimed materials from parts of Massachusetts coming in is part of a Mass DEP, Department of Environmental Protection program, to bring in soil that has some contaminants in it, but the contaminants do not exceed the maximum, the minimum allowable amount. So the town of Kingston, back a number of years ago, in October of 2015, wrote a letter in support of the landowner accepting those materials. That support was required by Mass DEP to allow these materials to come into town. We've had some issues with the property owner not complying with some of the Mass DEP regulations. when they issued the permit to bring in that reclaimed soil, Mass DEP is working with them to address those as best he can. But what we've also found is there's been some new zoning rulings to the court that frankly make the hauling of materials into that site a violation of our zoning bylaw in Kingston. We've noticed that property owner that they're in violation. They are appealing that to the zoning board of appeals, and we're awaiting a zoning board meeting to have the zoning board hear the appeal. We've taken that property owner to court, seeking an injunction. The judge at this point wasn't supportive of providing an injunction at that time until it went through the zoning process or the appeal process. So we're hoping to get that appeal process done sometime at the end of August and allow for some enforcement on that particular property. So the Board of Selectmen are going to be reconsidering the letter of support that was given back in 2015. I'm not sure how much of a difference that's going to make to Mass DEP, but at least it'll show that our governing body does not support the activities going on that particular site moving forward. So a lot going on next week at the board meeting. Hope people can stay tuned and stay informed on what's going on. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to talk to you or respond to an email, and I will speak to you next week. Hope you guys have a great week.